Call to order the May 2nd meeting of the Brentwood Board of Aldermen. If you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderman Slesser.
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderwoman O'Neill. Here. Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims.
Here.
Alderman Denby.
Here. Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda. Approval of, sorry, we got these all out of order when we went to the photo. April 19th minutes of the April 19th meeting of the Board of Aldermen. Are there any amendments or changes to?
Mr. Mayor, can we approve the agenda first?
Oh, sorry. Approval of the agenda for the May 2nd meeting. Thank you. Are there any amendments or changes to tonight's agenda? Okay, by acclamation, the agenda will be approved as submitted. Item number 4, consideration and approval of the minutes of the April 19th meeting. Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, by acclamation, the minutes will be approved. Presentation and recognition. Before we get started on our 2 presentations we have this evening, I'd like everybody to join me in a moment of silence. Former City Attorney Jerry Murphy passed away this week, and we were all sad to see him go. He did an awful lot for the city, so I'd like everybody to just take a minute and remember Jerry. Thank you. Item number 5A on the agenda. Chief Fitzgerald is going to make a presentation to one of the officers of our police force.
Good evening. Several weeks ago, on a typical quiet Saturday in Brentwood, Richmond Heights put out a call for a stealing from Galleria. The suspect was headed towards Brentwood. On the way, he attempted to carjack a car near Burger King and had used a large knife in doing so. So our officers heard that call and proceeded to the area. Officer Josh Bowersox was in the vicinity of Brentwood and Eager Road and saw the suspect up on Highway 40 hitchhiking, which is what everyone does after they attempt a carjacking. So Josh got out of his car, called out, ran up the hill. The suspect saw him and took off running eastbound on Highway 40 with Josh behind. At some point in time, there was a break in traffic. The suspect made a left turn and proceeded to cross the highway. Josh understood that and looked both ways and saw that it was safe and followed him across the highway over onto the outer road on the other side of 40 in Richmond Heights. The guy then starts running north on the outer road. In a span of several hundred yards, attempts to get into 2 more cars. Luckily, both cars were locked and he couldn't get in. In doing so, Josh was able to catch up. He had assistance at that point, and he also had his taser drawn on the suspect, which I think had something to do with it. He was able to apprehend the suspect, and in doing so, after they searched him, found a very large, what we would call a hunting type knife on his person. Obviously, this is an extreme act of bravery on Josh's part. He knew the danger involved and did what most police officers, he actually did what all police officers will do, and he pursued the suspect. The other thing that I find impressive is the amount of time that he was running. And he's chasing the suspect, and he's carrying more gear than I have on, and he's wearing a vest. Josh is one of those officers that works really hard at staying in shape, and this is an instance where it paid off. And I think that had a large part to do with the success of this call. We were very proud of Josh, and as it's my honor on behalf of the department to present the Certificate of Excellence to Officer Josh Bowersock. Josh. Chief, one more. One more?
Only if you want to be in the paper.
Good job.
All right, thank you. Item 5B on the agenda, presentation. Tonight, we are very lucky to have with us former Mayor Pat Kelly, who is now the Executive Director of the Missouri Municipal League of St. Louis, I believe is the new name. And he's also somewhat of an expert on the tax proposals that are floating through Jefferson City. And at the request of Alderman Kramer and a number of other board members, he's been kind enough to come here and bring the board and the citizens in attendance up to date on what's going on in Jeff City. So, Mayor Pat Kelly.
While they're passing that around, most of you know me well enough. I can't get up here without saying something. Like, there's so many times I wanted to be on this side of this podium. But no, actually, it is great to be here and have an opportunity to not only be here in the role as Executive Director of the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis is our new name. But one of the goals when I took over this position was to go around and visit all of the boards, municipalities that are a member of the league, which currently we represent 85 of the 90 municipalities. St. Louis City and St. Louis County are our members. And in the August and up until the time the session started, I was going around to the municipalities and introducing myself not only to the mayors but to their full boards, and explaining some of the benefits of what I believe the Municipal League does for its members. So once the session started, I haven't had the opportunity to start visiting municipalities again, but Brentwood was high on my list, although I knew you would recognize me. But I think it's important for all the elected officials to understand what the league is there for and to be a resource for the league if they ever have any questions that we're there to help them. So that being said, I was asked here tonight to really talk about the league's new sales tax policy. And I will give you a brief little history because it could take a long time to explain the whole thing. But back in the early 90s, well, first of all, everyone should be aware that we have point-of-sale cities and pool cities. Brentwood is a point-of-sale city or an A city. And that was determined years ago when there was first a county-wide sales tax. The county wanted a sales tax in order to provide basically municipal services for unincorporated St. Louis County. At that time, the only tax that was available to them was a county-wide sales tax. And so the county said to the municipalities, if you will support the county in the sales tax effort, we will let the municipalities keep the sales tax that are generated within the municipalities. At the same time, cities had declared whether they wanted to be a pool city or a point-of-sale city. And pool cities take the revenues, all of the sales tax revenue generated in those cities, and then divide it by their population. Fast forward to the 90s, and I'm leaving some of the historical stuff out, but fast forward to the 90s, Bus Westfall, getting pressure from some of the larger B cities, pool cities, as well as the legislature, came up with a formula to take part of that 1 cent sales tax, the countywide sales tax, that was being generated in the point-of-sale cities and redistribute that to the B cities. The rationale was it wasn't fair and for the residents of Webster Groves to come do their shopping in Brentwood, and then Webster didn't benefit from any of those sales. So they went to the state legislators, who passed the formula and the new sharing program of the 1 cent, and created the new distribution of the county sales tax. In doing so, the legislators did approve the 1/4 cent local option, and that was a tax that was supposed to offset any of the sales taxes that were being redistributed by the cities. If they passed a 1/4 cent, the thought was they would never have to pay more than that 1/4 cent into the pool to be redistributed. And so the only problem with that theory was, and Brentwood was fortunate enough at the time that the residents actually approved the 1/4 cent local option. So the only problem with the theory was the economy, or really the population and overall economy of St. Louis County, has now been stagnant for almost 20 years. If we had continued to have growth from a population standpoint and overall economic benefit, Brentwood's share of that 1 cent would not have gotten above the 25 cent. But that's not what happened. So now, and I'm going to make up the numbers, but I think I'm pretty close. Brentwood is probably contributing about 35 to 36% of their 1 cent sales tax to be redistributed to the pool. So the league and our members, fast forward again to 2011, and actually 2010 it started. We wanted to develop, because there's been attempts by the state legislators to impact the sales tax distribution even more drastically. And so the league back in 2011 formed a committee of both the A's and the B cities, mayors and representatives, and worked out over almost a 2-year period a sales tax policy for the St. Louis County Municipal League. And that was adopted by the league membership actually at Frontenac. I believe it was January of 2012. I was actually the finance chair for the Municipal League that year, and that was probably the largest meeting the Municipal League has ever had in attendance. But it was approved by the league, the new policy. And what that stated at that time, just very briefly, was that the league, the membership, didn't want to mess with the 1 cent. We wanted that to continue the distribution the way it was. The league wanted to eliminate the annexation adjustment that all the cities pay to St. Louis County for area. They have another formula that they use based on population and your sales tax, that every city contributes to the annexation adjustment. So we wanted to eliminate that. And then the 1/4 cent local option that any municipality had passed, St. Louis County, 14% of that actually goes back into the pool too. So of the 25% 1/4 cent sales tax that Brentwood generates, 14.9% of that actually goes back into the pool to be redistributed. We're going to eliminate that sharing of the 1/4 cent as well. In doing so, the league membership agreed to support the legislators to draft or to approve a 1/4 cent sales tax for unincorporated St. Louis County only to be approved by the voters. They could then generate the loss in revenue to St. Louis County, but then also give them a revenue source to provide those services to unincorporated St. Louis County. That was approved by the league, and but since 2012, moving forward, the league had never gotten that at least drafted. The legislators knew about our policy, but they had never gotten a bill drafted at the Capitol to try to push that policy. When I took over as the executive director, I wanted to, because there are new threats this year with sales tax. One is Chesterfield's bill, which is the one that has, and I would tell you at this point, will probably pass, get approved this year. And that says that if any B city, a point of sale city, a pool city, gets to keep half of their sales tax that they generate, above and beyond 2014 sales tax revenues. So there was any revenues that a B city got up until 2014, they were guaranteed to get that. But if revenues increase in the county, that was going to kick in a new formula that would say that a city like Chesterfield would then get to keep half of their incremental increase in sales tax. So what that meant for Chesterfield was, using real numbers from 2015, they would have, in 2015, using 2014 numbers, they would have seen about a $250,000 increase in revenue. The other B cities would all have had about a 1 cent increase in revenue, and Chesterfield and about 4 other cities would have had about a 3% increase. And I know this is a lot of information, but it's important so I can tell you where our policy is. So the league reenacted, or we got together with our policy committee for the league, our legislative committee. We looked at the old policy. St. Louis County was wanting a public safety sales tax. And so what we did is we took the old policy and we changed it to incorporate, ultimately, and I'm going to go to the end instead of going through the whole thing over the last 6 months, but basically the policy that the league adopted was pretty much everything I said in the first part of the old policy, except with the county sales tax, we agreed to support a 1/4 cent county-wide public safety sales tax for St. Louis County. In doing so, St. Louis County would give up the annexation adjustment, we'd give up the 1/4 cent sharing, and the net for that would be that tax would actually generate about $42 million countywide. But St. Louis County total, the net gain for St. Louis County because of what they would be giving up was about $23 million. The other big part of the policy that we adopted said that if the tax is approved by the voters and if these things are implemented, St. Louis County would have to set aside $1 million a year that would be controlled by the Board of Police Commissioners of St. Louis County, that all the municipalities with municipal police departments could be reimbursed. This wasn't optional, but they could submit to the police commission to be reimbursed up to $1,000 a year per officer for continuing education and training. So Brentwood, if they have 27 officers, that'd be $27,000. As well as any fees that they needed for police recruiting, psychological reviews, and those kinds of things related to new hiring and also existing police department personnel. So that could be an ongoing if they had to pay for a psychological review. So what does that mean? Okay, if you turn to the first page that I passed out is just the policy, but if you turn to the second page, you'll see, and I highlighted, sorry, there's 2 highlights because I did a presentation like this for Clayton, but the yellow is Brentwood. And this was using real numbers from 2015. If this plan had been implemented, if you go across, you see the total receipts for Brentwood or that you received. Actually, that was the portion that you received in 2015. You would have given up the annexation, or you would have gained the annexation adjustment that went to the county, so that was $109,000. You would also gain the no longer sharing the 1/4 cent local option. That was an additional almost $28,000. Or I'm sorry, the net change was almost $200,000. You would take that, that's a 1/4 cent, the annexation 1/4 cent sharing. And then the other thing we did to the formula, we took the money that St. Louis County was getting from the pool. I should have said this earlier. St. Louis County was the biggest drawer of the pool funds because it's based on population. And so the money that they were getting went back into the pool. And so what our suggestion in this policy was, we took all of that money that St. Louis County was getting, put it back into a pool with both the A and the B cities, and divide that by population. So that came out to be $18 per capita per municipalities. So, and so for Brentwood, that was another increase of $144,000. So the net new revenue, if this policy had been in place, would have been a $472,000 increase in revenue for Brentwood in 2015 if that policy had been in place using real numbers. So, and I know that's a lot of information very quickly, but that is the policy. I'm excited to say that we actually did get 2 bills drafted this year, one in the House and one in the Senate. Senator Shoup in North County sponsored it in the Senate, and Representative Joe Adams sponsored a bill in the House. We did have a hearing in the House, and which again is another step forward. The chances of having this legislation pass the first year, I think, were almost nil. But the fact that we had legislation drafted and people know that we have a policy, the legislators know, hopefully we'll be able to get this or portions of it implemented next year. So with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Alderman Plufka.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at this for the first time tonight, so Pat, if I mess up on the math here, forgive me. Listening to you, the net gain of $23 million meant that there would have been $19 million redistributed under 2015 from 43 down to the 23, 42 down to 23, $19 million?
No, so the total generated by the quarter cent sales tax was about 42 million.
And you said 23 would be
So-
the net gain.
Right, because they've given up the annexation adjustment, the
Right.
quarter cent sharing, and then the biggest part of that was almost $15 million that they were getting from the pool, the money that they were actually getting from the pool funds that were being generated by municipal governments.
So, but, okay, and so that pool money would just return back to those cities?
And that's the $18 per capita, so
Okay.
that's under the, yeah.
So that does get to part of my question. If the money, the sales tax money is being paid as an A city, you know, before redistribution, why is it coming back to us per capita?
It seemed like the fairest thing to do. I mean, it's very difficult when you're looking at the sales tax pool and trying to make these adjustments.
Yeah.
Especially now that this system has been in place since basically '94.
Sure.
And I'll just be very frank. You know, there'd be some cities that would say, let's just get rid of the pool. You know, and I had this argument with a legislator, or I shouldn't say argument, I had this debate with a legislator in one of the committees last week, and he said, let's just get rid of the pool, treat St. Louis County like all the rest of the state. And I said, that'd be fine, and what you're gonna see then, that would be great for all the A cities for a couple of years, okay? But then after that, the cities like Glendale, Webster Groves, when their property values start to decline because they can't provide the services that their residents need, or cities start to merge together, in some of the smaller cities merge together, you know, now you may have one, you know, merge 4 smaller cities together. Now you're going to have one larger city instead of 4 smaller cities that are having financial problems. You're going to have one large city that's going to have a financial problem. The point is, as a county, we all are going to have to provide those services for everybody at some point or somehow. And so it's very difficult, and it's why when you make decisions, especially at the state level, they don't look at all the unforeseen consequences of the decisions that they make. And I think Buzz Westfall's plan sounded good, you know, give the A cities the ability to pass a quarter cent local option. I wrote a paper on this sales tax proposal when I was getting my master's in college, and I interviewed Buzz Westfall, and he said, this is great for the A cities. They get the quarter cent local option. No city will ever pay more than 25% of their, actually, he said 5 cents. He said 5%.
Right.
And sure enough, by '99, Brentwood was already paying 18%.
Right.
You know, so, and it's because that the overall economy just stopped.
Yeah.
And so, in theory, it worked, but that was the unforeseen consequences of it. So, fast forward to 2016, you start playing with those numbers in the pool, and again, it might sound good short term, but the reality of it is the cities are in this together now. And that's why the benefit of this is really the fact that it gets St. Louis County out of the pool, because they should have never been the biggest beneficiary of the pool either, but now they are. And then it gets back to where it's a municipal issue, and the municipalities can work together to resolve any issues we had going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes, Your Honor. Mayor Kelly, this is odd.
It's great being out here, Tom.
I understand. First of all, thanks for being here. Can you go over once again the repercussions and/or the benefits of the Chesterfield initiative passing, how that would affect Brentwood, for example?
Well, actually, that doesn't, and really it has very little effect on, and it's one of the reasons what I told the legislators when I was testifying, it really doesn't do anything. Okay, it's going to benefit 5 of the B cities. It's going to impact the other B, it won't impact the A cities at all. they're going to still continue to give to the pool. But the only negative impact would be to those B cities that now, and I'm using averages, would only get instead of getting a 3% increase on it going forward, they're only going to get a 1%, whereas those ones that are keeping more of the revenue may get a 4%.
Okay.
And so it really didn't do anything for the pool. It really didn't do anything to make the distribution more fair. It was really giving a city like Chesterfield more revenue.
Okay.
And, when you have a city that has a 40% reserve policy and is carrying 60% in actual reserves across the board of their entire budget and reserve, it's hard to feel sorry for them that they need more revenue. Actually, ironically, under our proposal, under the league's proposal, they would actually gain almost $900,000 a year.
There was talk at once upon a time about Chesterfield wanting to secede from the county and go to St. Charles County. Is that over? Is that still up in the air?
You're more than welcome to call Mayor Nations. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay.
Nation, he'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Pat, the question I have is, in the original bill that the municipal league did generate to the support, it all hinged on the unincorporated St. Louis County passing a sales tax to make up the difference from what they would be losing from
Right.
the rest of the cities. Does either of the two bills going through the legislature right now have that contingency in them?
Our bill does. I mean, this would be, everything in our policy is based on St. Louis County approving a countywide public safety sales tax.
So no formula adjustment takes place until the voters vote to equalize the contributions to start with.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? I just have one. So it's along the lines of what Alderman Kramer was saying. I was reading an article the other day, and basically it had said that, like you said, we can expect the Chesterfield bill, for lack of a better word, to pass. And then the article sort of suggested that the appetite for the state legislature with all of this was going to be done. Do you have a sense for that being true or not, or?
So, that's actually a good question, and kind of, I will have to tell you that I thought I knew a lot about the state capitol. This year, spending more time there in this role, it's been a huge learning curve. But I would say that, you have to balance, it's a seesaw, and what's best. I would think right now for the county, the best thing is for Chesterfield's bill to pass. And because what Senator Schatz is saying, without Senator Schmidt in place, who has really stopped a lot of the legislation over the years in his tenure that would affect the pool, he'll be gone next year. And what Senator Schatz, who sponsored this legislation in the Senate, has said, if this doesn't pass this year, he's not going to guarantee what's going to happen next year, but it's going to be more impact to the St. Louis County municipalities than the current bill. He has also agreed last week in his office that if this does pass, that he would then work with the league in our municipalities to implement some of the things that are within our policy. Which would mean maybe we could get the annexation adjustment to go away, or the sharing of the local option, without necessarily having the new sales tax in place to do that. So the other thing that was added to Senator Schatz's bill was they have amended that bill. Well, they're going to amend the bill to include a half-cent public safety sales tax in unincorporated St. Louis County. We believe, I think legal counsel could give you a better opinion than me, but I think the belief is that that's not constitutional. Because unincorporated St. Louis County is not a political subdivision, so they can't grant the authority to pass a tax for a non-political subdivision. So that would probably be challenged if they ever did get it to even go to the voters. So.
Any further questions?
If I can have just one
Sure,
more
absolutely.
minute, because I think this is important information for you too. If you continue to flip through these pages real quickly, these are current numbers, but it's kind of some rankings, just so it might be interesting for you to look at. The first page is the property tax rates for all the municipalities in the county. And I think what you'll see, and I think this is something that's interesting when you're talking about the sales tax, if you look at the highest residential property tax rate in St. Louis County is Valdez City, one of the smaller communities in the county. And what I'd like you to think about when you're looking at these is look at a lot of these smaller communities that are being criticized all the time. Their residents have supported those communities in order to try to provide the funds that they need to operate. And so as you go through here, the first one is you'll notice that Chesterfield and Fenton don't have any property tax rates. So their residents aren't paying any property, just like Brentwood, to their residents. But and I will say this, and I really mean it, Brentwood's not out there complaining about the revenues that they do have. The second page is utility rates, which is another a big revenue source, again, ranked. And then we also have, if you go to a couple more pages back, it actually shows each of the cities, their population, and then all the sales taxes that they have passed by their voters. So I didn't highlight Brentwood, but you can see there, Brentwood has passed the quarter-cent local option. Residents supported that in 1993. We did the half-cent capital improvement sales tax in 94. And then just across the board, you can see the other taxes. So I think that's just some good information for you to have. That's just kind of interesting what other municipalities have done to stabilize their budgets. So.
Excellent. Well, Pat, thank you very, very much
Absolutely.
for coming tonight. We really appreciate
Anytime.
it.
It's great to be here and be here in this side of the country.
Before we move on to the next item on the agenda, I wanted to point out there's someone in the crowd this evening that's wearing a particularly large smile. He's in the back row and he's wearing a tie and a white shirt, and it's Chief Ted Jury. This is his last meeting with us this evening. Ted is retiring and he and his wife are moving to Hawaii. So anyway, I just wanted to recognize Ted for the 5 years he spent with our community. Ted's been an excellent fire chief. We're very lucky to have him, and in his absence, Assistant Chief or Acting Chief Terry Curtin is going to be filling in, and I'm sure we're going to be in great hands. So anyway, good luck, Ted. Thank you very much. Item number 6 on the agenda, we have no public hearings this evening. We have no bids this evening. Item number 8, public hearing of public matter, any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. If anybody would like to come forward and address the board, please do so. You'll have 3 minutes. You got, that's enough?
I'm like Pat, I just always wanted to do this one. And you can really ding me if it's over 3 minutes. That's okay. Now, I came forward tonight because I said I wouldn't come back to a board meeting for a year, and it's a year's past. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate Brentwood so much, and I appreciate what you all are doing. And then the one thing I really wanted to say, you put up new signs on that trail down here that I had a blessing to be named after. And I want you to know what it's meant. My wife and I walk there a lot. It brings back fond memories. Maybe some not quite so good as others, but brings a lot of fond memories back. And I just want to thank you for that, and I thank you for the job you're doing, and wish you all the best in what's ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Would anyone else care to come forward and address the board? Okay. Seeing none, any aldermanic response? Seeing none, item number 9 on the agenda. Do we have any unfinished business this evening? I believe we do. All right, item number 10 on the agenda, bills to be given a first reading. Item 10A, bill number 6063, first reading by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney.
Bill number 6063, first reading. an ordinance amending Schedule 3 of the Brentwood City Code regarding residential parking restrictions.
Alderman Kramer, do we have a synopsis?
Yes, Your Honor. Bill 6063, their first reading for this evening, the protected margins of no parking at Brentwood Court Apartments and their egress onto Eager Road and Oriole Lane on Eager Road. This bill covers an ordinance that ensures there is protected margin of no parking 27 feet to the east and west of the Brentwood Court Apartments egress onto Eager Road, their driveway there, and 27 feet to the east from Oriole Lane on Eager Road. No parking from here to corner. Our Public Safety Committee has reviewed and made a recommendation with unanimous motion forwarding this to the Board of Aldermen for their positive vote. Bill number 6063.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. City Administrator Conde, are you going to present this one for the board?
I am.
All right,
Thank you,
very
Mayor
good.
Thornton. Generally, it's of the opinion of the Board of Aldermen that when it comes to safety of our residents, visitors, and generally all drivers on the roadway and our streets, safety is non-negotiable. The city has believed, and with this ordinance affirms, that it should be the responsibility of the developer of the multifamily unit that's going on up on the north side of Eagle Road to ensure the safety and appropriate accommodation of construction traffic during the construction of this project. And in so doing, the lack of any activity or insurance being taken by that developer, the Public Safety Committee and the board believes that there needs to be egress so that those who live, for instance, at Brentwood Court Apartments have easy access onto Eagle Road, and the same applies to Oriole Lane, which is why we're bringing forth this ordinance before you this evening.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for City Administrator Conde or anyone else? Alderman Leahy.
Thank you. Let me address it to Mrs. Akonde. We talk about Oriole Lane. Does High School Drive have the 27-foot no parking on both east and west of it when it comes out to Eager Road?
I don't believe so, but there's greater sight distance
Does-
for those coming out.
Does Bobolink have 27 feet, no visibility free on the east and west
It's
side
clear
of it
visibility coming off of Bobolink.
to work with? We're not establishing
A precedent?
a precedent,
No.
because my problem is we're pushing legally parked cars further down in restricted areas to the point that, do I create the same problem on other,
This egress
Streets.
already exists on Peacock Lane, and that was one of the provisions
Thanks.
by which the traffic engineer made this recommendation. It's not just for this construction going on, it would be there forever,
to
so
work
to
it through.
speak. Right.
This has no sunshine clause in
No,
it, so we
not
do
what-
leave it.
Not from
is-
what was recommended from the committee, no.
Is there going to be painting, marking as no parking area besides just the signs going up?
There will be signs, I don't believe there will be.
Yellow curbing is what I'm looking for, or just areas that are marked off on the street that are hashed off to show that they're not to be parked in those areas.
I would leave that to what the traffic engineer suggests.
I don't recall him writing anything on that in his report to us.
It's a simple conversation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Alderman Plufka?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regard to the question posed by Alderman Leahy, when we had this conversation in public safety, one of the concerns was that the elevation coming from
Coming
the
that
two
ramp.
roads were much lower than street level. And that
Exactly.
cars were coming up, and where the driver was situated, he was even sort of below street level, and that limited sight even further.
There was a sight distance issue. If you've ever had an opportunity to try to come out from under that garage, even without the cars there is some level of difficulty unless you truly come out on High School. So this is providing those drivers an added advantage so that they have a better, clear distance to access that ramp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes, Your Honor. The residents of Brentwood Court Apartments will be most appreciative and have been most appreciative at the possibility of this motion passing when it comes up for a vote. But in answer to Alderman Leahy, the question, as High School Drive comes out onto Eager Road as you travel east, that is one of only the two sections that are allowed public parking on the south side of Eager Road. And there is a no parking zone, 27 feet protected here to corner as you travel east on Eager from High School Drive. On the west side of Eager Road from High School Drive, there is no protected parking. But the only two areas of public parking along Eager Road from Chafford Woods all the way down to Bobolink are the area in front of Brentwood Court and the Brentwood Forest buildings between High School Drive and Thrush Place. This request is in protection of the residents who reside there at Brentwood Court Apartments. They have the driveway that comes out there onto Eager Road, and it was further discovered and analyzed through our committee discussion that there is traffic parking all the way up to Oriole Lane. So the precedent of High School and Eager applies to Oriole and Eager, and that was what was recommended by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none. Item number 11 on the agenda. We don't have any bills for a second reading this evening. We have one bill on item number 12A, bill number 6061. This bill is to be given a first and second reading this evening. Mr. City Attorney, first reading by title only, please.
Bill number 6061, first reading, an ordinance amending section 600.200 of the Brentwood City Code relating to prohibited conduct for licensees authorized to dispense alcoholic beverages.
Hey, thank you. Alderman Kramer, synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. A little further detail, Bill 6061, a first and second reading, the amendment to the Brentwood Municipal Code, and that's regarding prohibited conduct for licenses. The bill covers an ordinance amending section 600.200 of the City of Brentwood Municipal Code as it relates to prohibited conduct for licenses authorized to dispense alcoholic beverages. This bill underscores the importance of all licensees and licenses maintaining strict adherence to such standards at all times and enabling the police department to use the regulatory authority vested in them by the state law and the ordinances of the City of Brentwood to assure that all licenses and licensed premises are operated in a safe and lawful manner. Our Public Safety Committee has made a unanimous motion forwarding the request to the Board of Aldermen with a positive recommendation contained in the language of Bill number 6061.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Administrator, do you have information for the board on this one?
Thank you, Mayor Thornton. Over the past few months, there have been an increasing number of neighboring municipalities who, after a review of their municipal code, realized that their current code does not offer as much protection in regards to what is deemed to be prohibited conduct in establishments where alcohol is sold. The Board of Aldermen asked City Attorney O'Keefe to review this, and he came back and determined that our current code needs to be expanded. It doesn't offer as much protection, and he recommends that we expand the current code. If you look at the bill in front of you, Section 1, Chapter 600, 600.2, subsection A through 10, list the prohibited activities that would be deemed unauthorized, unlawful, and would require that our police department use their regulatory authority vested in them by the state to ensure that all those licensed premises are operated in a safe and lawful manner.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for City Administrator Conde? Alderman Leahy.
Well, I'll ask Mr. Conde, but I think the city attorney may have to answer.
You can direct him directly to him if you like.
All right, Mr. O'Keefe, if I may. This bill only addresses a licensee. What happens to places that we authorize alcohol present but don't have a licensee? I.e., the rec center, if we approve the bill that's coming forward on that and using alcohol in those premises, this bill wouldn't affect them because there would be no license requirement.
Well, obviously, the city would still have in place its own ordinances against public affrays, public indecency, and that sort of thing. And if it certainly takes place in a city facility, I expect someone will be in a position to call the police and have that addressed. This ordinance, you are correct, addresses the question of not only dealing with individuals who engage in prohibited conduct, but authorizes the city to address the status of the license for the facility in the event that prohibited conduct occurs on the premises.
If I understand what you're telling me, my code does have these prohibitations in it under just general behavior. We're also now including these prohibited behaviors just for the man that comes out or the person that comes in and asks, I want a liquor license to sell liquor, or I want a liquor license for my event, that he picks up these extra codes.
We already have laws against engaging in assaulting someone or in public peace disturbance. So anyone who engages in those conducts on a licensed or unlicensed premises is subject to being prosecuted for that conduct. This ordinance establishes an obligation on the part of a liquor licensee to see to it that that doesn't happen on their premises. So we don't have to rely on the police department to enforce that or respond after it occurs, but imposes an obligation on the operator of the premises to see to it that their patrons or employees do not get out of hand and engage in inappropriate conduct. It is another avenue to address misconduct.
All right, let me ask the follow-up question then, because I like what you're telling me.
Good.
If
That's
we-
why I said it.
If we potentially pass the pending legislation that's coming to us allowing alcohol in the parks, am I correct that the licensee in that arrangement would be the city of Brentwood by allowing the alcohol on the premises?
No, sir.
Okay.
We're not dispensing alcohol. We're saying we do not prohibit people who own their own alcohol from carrying it with them.
So-
That's- We're not a licensee in that.
Under which code then do I end up enforcing good social behavior?
Well, I assume we have regulations concerning the conduct, well, the ordinances which heretofore have prohibited people carrying alcohol in parks also probably, I would guess without looking, said that people can't expose themselves in the park, and that people can't have fights in the park, and people can't shoot firearms in the park or whatever else. And we have regulations on the conduct of people on public and private property in general. So those ordinances are still in place. So if that answers your question.
I'm trying to imagine how we keep these new requirements apply just to the person that applies for the license for that activity or event. Or if it's a bar, their license for having the bar to
It's
work
an
with.
additional tool for enforcement. We have laws against public nudity.
Yes.
We have laws against fighting in public. And what this says is, the operator of a licensed premise who tolerates nudity on the part of their employees or their customers now can have their license subject to discipline, in addition to those who have engaged in the conduct being held accountable for their violations.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none. Mr. City Attorney, second reading by title only, please.
Bill number 6061, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance amending section 600.200 of the Brentwood City Code relating to prohibited conduct for licensees authorized to dispense alcoholic beverages.
The chair would entertain a motion.
Motion, Your Honor, to perfect Bill 6061 into ordinance form.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the board perfect bill number 6061 into ordinance form. Is there any discussion? None at all? Very good. Roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Slusser.
Yes.
Bill number 6061 is hereby passed by the Board of Aldermen and upon signature by the mayor becomes ordinance number 4711.
Okay, thank you. Item number 13 on the agenda, we have no resolutions this evening. Item number 14 on the agenda, Alderman Slusser, accounts against the city.
I have reviewed the warrant list with the city administrator and recommend its approval in the amount of $112,198.94.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the board approve the warrant list as submitted. Is there any discussion? Alderman Leahy.
You have two bills on this warrant list, Your Honor, that state that we authorized to get them paid, but the recipient says they didn't get paid. Has anybody determined how that happened?
Which one are you referring to specifically?
Hang on, I'm
Reinvoiced.
yeah,
Who?
the two that were being re-invoiced for.
Which,
Public service.
Yeah, Chiodini and Republic Service, I think are the two that I need bringing up.
so we believe that, as you know, we had some vacancies in our finance department over the holiday season. And there was the thought that maybe an initial check was issued, and we went through our records and realized it was never issued. So what we're trying to do is, we asked them to re-invoice us so we can issue a check. So we've double-checked that it was never issued. There hasn't been two checks that have been issued to this particular vendor.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Lakey,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderman Pluska,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Slusser.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Warrant list is approved. Item number 15 on the agenda, reports of committees and department heads. Item A is the mayor's report, and so I've got a little bit to do this evening. I'm going to start off by making just a couple of announcements. So the first one is National Prayer Day is this Friday, May 6th at noon, and the ceremony will be held right here in City Hall. So anybody interested in joining local clergy, citizens, and school children from St. Mary Magdalene with the National Prayer Day, please feel free to come around about noon, and I think we even have a little bit of food or something to give everybody a bite to eat. So looking forward to it. It was a lot of fun last year. The second thing is the Community Shred Day is Saturday, May 7th from 9 to 11. We're going to have the Shred and Protect Document Services, local Brentwood company here to offer their shredding services. So anybody who wants to bring out credit cards, papers, CDs, that kind of thing, to have it shredded, do that. And then last but not least, certainly, is Saturday, May 21st from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., everybody's favorite day, Brentwood Fire Department's open house. So there's going to be hot dogs, chips, soda, cookies, things like that, and tours of the firehouse, get to sit in the fire engine and all that stuff. And me and my 3 children will be there, so feel free to come around for that. Next up on the agenda, next up under my report, tonight I have some appointments to make, and I want to take the chance, first of all, to apologize to the board. I did not have these appointments out as timely as I had hoped to have them out, and I'd like to actually share with you the reason for that. As you know, we advertise in the city bulletin and in a number of different places for volunteers to serve on boards and committees, and from time to time we do get people who volunteer to do that. Fortunately, we do get people to volunteer. Unfortunately, they all seem to come from one particular geographic area of town, and that leads to people complaining or observing that everybody from one particular area of town tends to fill up these boards and commissions. But you know, it's kind of I find myself a little bit conflicted. I mean, on the one hand, they did volunteer, so I feel like, you know, we ought to put them to work. And on the other hand, I don't like any more than anybody else to see a board or commission full of, you know, all one part of town only represented. So what I did when I realized that the people who had volunteered were largely from one portion of town is I went out and made some phone calls on Friday afternoon and started very gently twisting some arms to see if I couldn't get a few more people from other parts of town to volunteer, so to speak, to serve on some commissions. So that was the holdup. I apologize, but I was successful in at least a few cases to get people to volunteer, so to speak. And I've got a few more people out that have promised me an answer in the not-too-distant future. So I'm hoping to have even a few more quote-unquote volunteers to put on this list after a while. So without further ado, these are the 2016 appointments to our boards and committees. These are basically what I tried to do is divide everything up into committees that involved aldermen and committees that did not involve aldermen. And so these are what I'm calling the non-aldermanic committees. Planning and Zoning Commission, everybody I think knows what those people do. Alderwoman Manistar has most graciously volunteered to join the library board, and I'm really excited about that. She did a great job as library liaison, and I'm sure she'll do a great job on there. The Board of Adjustment and Architectural Review Board are all reappointments. Those are just people who are currently serving. Their term is up. I see no reason to not reappoint them, and they've all volunteered to be reappointed, so I'm very happy about that. So if there's Any questions? Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. In the past, there had been some, I guess, a pattern of 2-year or multiple-year appointments for some of the positions like P and Z. Just to clarify, this is just for 1 year?
Oh, no. Sorry, by statute, the appointment to P and Z is a 4-year appointment.
Okay?
And the term actually does not end when the person, if, say, the person resigns, that next person appointed into that term serves the remainder of that term
Okay.
and then is reappointed. So, these are 4-year appointments.
Just for P and Z, the others are?
Yeah, the other ones are actually, I believe the other ones are 2 years by ordinance, if I'm not mistaken.
They vary, but I
Do
think,
they- do all
I think by
vary?
state law, Board of Adjustment is also.
Yeah,
4
that's
years.
right, sorry, Board of Adjustments by statute as well. So, and ARB, I think, is 2 years by ordinance, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Plufka.
I was just curious where Joe Page, what ward is he from?
Oh, sorry, I don't know the answer
Which
to that
com- which
question.
committee?
Joe Page is on
Architectural
ARB,
Review Board.
and I don't know where he lives.
Hang on, I got it. I guess ARB, page, no, I don't have him, I'm sorry.
We
Um,
can provide that to
That's
you.
fine. I was curious more than anything else.
Yeah, sorry.
He is
Sorry.
the president of the city.
Yeah.
Alderman Leahy.
We have 2 other committees, the ICC Board of Appeals and the Human Relations Committee.
I actually appointed those last week,
Um,
at our last meeting.
I missed that, I apologize, Your Honor.
No problem. The other thing that I would mention here is that in a number of conversations with Michael Daming, who's the chairman, who is our current chairman of our Planning and Zoning Commission, who's also being reappointed this evening. Mike and I have discussed expanding our Planning and Zoning Commission from its current membership, which is approximately 11, and it's been hovering around 10 or 11 for the last several years, to approximately 15. By statute, the Planning and Zoning Commission is allowed to be between 5 and 17. And he and I, after discussing it for a bit, have kind of zeroed in on 15 as the number. There's no magic reason. I mean, I think we both feel that more representation is better than less, to give more people the opportunity, and provided we're not short of volunteers, that's a good thing. And the other is that, even though it is an important commission, from time to time, people are, missing meetings and things like that, and it makes it that much easier for a quorum to be obtained in the event that people are traveling and things like that. So there is this will leave the the commission larger than it was before, and my goal is actually to appoint it to somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 on a going basis. Alderman Slesser.
I believe that Joseph Page lives in the 8900 block of White, which, if I understand correctly, is Ward 1.
Which would be Ward 1, yes.
Thank you, Internet.
Thank you. Internet's never wrong.
Never.
Well, almost never.
Well, St. Louis County. We're basing off St. Louis County.
All right. Is there any further discussion, any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderwoman O'Neill.
is it possible to do some arm twisting for Ward 4 for those remaining vacancies?
I would be very happy to twist arms in Ward 4 if you can give me some ideas of whose arms to twist. I've got, the contacts that I have in Ward 4 are either happily retired and have no desire to join our commission, much as they like, doing other things, and or people who are, for one reason or another. Well, let me put it to you this way: there was a person from Ward 4 that I interviewed, I liked, I appointed, and before our first meeting, he resigned his position. So.
We'll try again.
Yes, I'd be very, very, very happy to have representation from Ward 4. So I would be most happy to meet with you and Alderman Kramer on ideas of arms to twist and very gently twist them. Alderman Lockmiller.
Regarding the P&Z Commission, which ones are new appointments and which are returning?
Michael Daming is returning. He's reappointing. He's also acting as the chairman right now. Presumably the commission would reelect him to that position. I don't know how they handle that. Tom Shipley would be taking Alderman Dimmitt's position. Alderman Dimmitt was reappointed last year, if you recall, and Mr. Shipley would be filling out the remainder of that term. And then the rest of the people would be new to the commission.
Thank you.
Alderman Slesser.
I assume you would need a motion here to, or
A motion to approve, yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the mayor's 2016 appointments to boards and committees as presented to the board.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the board approve the 2016 appointments to boards and committees as submitted. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call, please.
Alderman Demmett,
Yes.
Alderman Kramer,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill. Yes. Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Slesser.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll let those folks know, I assume. Oh, or let let Chairman Daming know so he can pester people to come to meetings. The second thing on our agenda tonight under my appointments is actually nothing to do with me, but we do it here because I sort of run the election for the board. So tonight is election of the acting president of the Board of Aldermen. Pursuant to Chapter 79 of the Missouri statutes, the board is to elect one of their own members as the acting president of the board, who will fill the duties of the mayor in the event the mayor is unable to do so. So what we have done in the past has been a little bit different, but I believe the way we are doing it now is correct. And so following a standard election process per Robert's rules, we would take nominations from the floor, from the Board of Aldermen, and then once those nominations are completed, we would then have discussion and then take a vote. And the vote will be by ballot, so that all of you are able to cast a ballot for whomever you like. Alderman Slesser.
I would like to nominate Alderman Plufka for mayor pro temp of the board.
Okay, Alderman Plufka is nominated for acting president of the Board of Aldermen. Alderman Lockmiller.
I would like to nominate Alderman Kramer.
Alderman Kramer is nominated for the acting president of the Board of Aldermen. Any further nominations? Okay, seeing none. Is there any discussion? Alderman Slesser.
The reasoning behind my nomination here is after working with Alderman Pluffick for a year, he's shown great leadership as the chair of public safety. He's been an invaluable member of the Ways and Means Committee with his depth of knowledge. And he's also been a great voice of reason on this board and typically not picking sides and going with what he thinks is right. So I feel would be a good impartial judge for this board in your absence.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will take a cast a ballot. So if the city administrator would pass out ballots.
We have
I'm
ballots.
sorry, you have them in front of you. My apologies.
And we have a basket run by Alderman.
And they're pre-voted. How convenient is that? If you just take them and put them in the box, then it'll be fine.
We do not have Vanna White here tonight.
Okay, and then we'll give our city clerk just a second to tally those ballots and tell us what winner we have, or if any.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
From your announcements, just something else while this voting is going on, is that the Tons of Transportation is this Saturday as well.
I'm sorry?
Tons of Transportation is this Saturday as well, put on by the Park Department.
Oh,
Or the
okay.
Richmond Heights, the Park Recreation Cooperative is going on
You
this
know what,
Saturday
I
as
read
well.
that in the Parks Bulletin. Yeah, the Tons of Transportation event. What time is that?
10 to 1.
10 to 1?
On Saturday. I think it's at Sun Inn, where it's been in the
Yeah, I
past.
think that's right.
Yeah, it's at Sun Inn. So if anyone has little kids, or they like playing with big trucks, you should go. It's a good time.
Excellent.
Tie.
Do we have a tally?
We have a tie. A
Sorry?
tie,
It's a tie.
yes.
Okay. So I would take it, Alderman Plufkin.
I'd like to, with thanks to Alderman Slusser and with deference to Alderman Kramer, I'd like to withdraw my name from consideration.
Okay. Alderman Plufka has withdrawn his name from the nomination, so I guess we'll do away with having to have a second ballot, and we'll congratulate Alderman Kramer on being elected the acting president of the Board of Aldermen. All right, item number 15B, Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did have a meeting of the Public Safety Committee, and I'll apologize again for, we had to cut it short because of time constraints, and I'm going to try to do a good job, a better job this year in managing our agenda so that we can give due conversation to all the different topics that we have that come up. They're very important. We did direct staff to install 2 deaf child at play signs in the 9300 block of Pine, I believe. We also discussed other public safety issues and heard a number of engineering reports with regard to some of those questions and concerns. We had to table an efficiency report from our police department, which we will hear in May, and that meeting is May 19th, which is the third Thursday, I believe, of the month, and it will start at 5:30 in this room here. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works, Alderman Leahy.
Our meeting for Public Works will be Wednesday, the 11th of May at 4:30 here in the chambers, and allers open meeting.
All right. Ways and Means, Alderman Slusser.
We will have our first meeting in 5 months on Thursday, so if you want to see me stumble through a meeting as I've forgotten how to do it, it will be Thursday night at 6 o'clock in here. We will be tackling 2 major things. Bill 6029 that has languished, it's the conflict of interest policy with some new language added to it. And we'll also be going over benefit renewal options for full-time employees at the meeting. So, thank you.
All right.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to back up, actually.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to back up. So under Public Works, I had a sub-bullet, which I'm not used to, but I believe that we have some information about information for the board on a special use permit situation. So.
If I may, before I do that, I would like to introduce our new Assistant City Administrator, Planning Development Director, Lisa Korkemeyer, today, who's her first day with the city. Welcome. You have no idea how excited I am to have you. I will be going on vacation for the rest of the month.
One last
Lisa has a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography and a Master's of Science also in the same field from Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. She has over 25 years' experience within planning development, and her most current experience was with the city of Mascoutah, Illinois. She was the assistant city manager and has worked for the city of Fairview Heights, city of O'Fallon, Illinois, city of Carbondale, Illinois, city of Belleville, Illinois, someone like me who likes to move around. And one of her signature work products at the city of O'Fallon and Fairview Heights was updating the comprehensive plan. Other urban planners and people such as myself, city administrators, consider her the go-to person in the urban planning technical skill set field. So we are thrilled to have Lisa join our team today. Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome.
She also has an item to present to the board.
All right.
Yes, if I may, before I get into that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I actually had an opportunity to work with several of you back in 2013. I worked with the city of Brentwood on a contractual basis for about 4 months, and I covered Ellen Ratchakub's position when she went on maternity leave. So I see some familiar faces, new faces, but thank you everyone for having me back, and I enjoyed my time when I was here just on a temporary basis and just really enjoy the city of Brentwood. So looking forward to this. So with that, I will go into the only item that we had this evening was a special use permit application, and this was, the applicant is Bed Bath & Beyond. So the Planning and Development Department received a special use permit application from Bed Bath & Beyond for their annual back-to-school event. Some of you might be familiar with this. The request was for a special use to place 12 storage containers at the back of their store, each measuring 7 feet by 40 feet long. The items stored are prepaid orders that the customers will be picking up. This generates over $1 million for the store. The start date is June 1st. Now, their application said it was for a 117-day duration, so by my math, that means the cutoff would actually be September 25th. So June 1st through September 25th. This request it appears to be very representative of in past years when they've asked for this before. This comes under the definition of the zoning code as a special use, where it is actually a type of application that just can be approved by the planning and development director. So this evening it's just brought to you just really for informational purposes. I know there has been a few questions about looking at maybe further restrictions on storage containers such as this. I think questions that have been raised are legitimate questions. So as the memo said, we are preparing to look at this, and we'll bring it back through the Planning and Zoning Commission, forward to the appropriate committee, and then to the board here to consider. So look for that hopefully within sometime this year or a few months. We'll try to get it all in, but we've got the comp plan we'll be working on and several other things. So was there any questions though regarding this particular application that I could possibly answer?
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I
Oh,
may.
sorry, Alderman Leahy, my apologies.
The notice that we've got states that the application will be approved administratively, but it sounds like it may be coming back to the board to be resolved. So you're asking this evening if this board has any issues with bringing the 12 trailers in behind the target area at this point, to at least let the administrative group know what's going on.
That's correct.
We've had this topic earlier this year and late last year on this issue of the trailers and stuff back there. We also have the Drury Hotel that is now open and functional, that everybody looking out the east end of their building is now looking at a stack of trailers. I question if this is the back-to-school arrangement, why they're stretching the number of trailers from 10 to 12 and the duration to longer than we've approved in the past. I think that as a business, it's wonderful for Brentwood to have more business going through those business, but I think Bed Bath & Beyond needs to utilize the interior store space better. I think that putting 12 of these containers back behind there is not going to be aesthetically pleasing long-term, and I'd like to see them get something better. In the past, we had the same request from Walgreens up here on Brentwood Boulevard, and we had worked out an arrangement with them that they were going to build a side storage house and then decided not to. And we have told them that, no, we're not looking at allowing further containers on a seasonal basis. I don't think it's fair that we're doing that with Walgreens if I'm going to allow 12 containers down here at Bed Bath & Beyond, when theirs, I think, was one container looking to go to a possible second one that they never used, type thing. So, as last year, I'm still not in favor of allowing this type of business arrangement down there. I think they can do better with the floor space that they have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on, and again, welcome. I'm sorry for skipping over that. Mr. City Attorney.
I have no meetings scheduled.
I'm sure that the Ways and Means Committee will be glad to hear that. Madam City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Thornton. We have one item under City Clerk Administrator. In the past, the city has brought to the attention of the Board of Aldermen an opportunity to participate in a cooperative. And what a cooperative does is, it's very similar to buying off the state contract. An entity has already gone through the competitive bid process. So through the Missouri Municipal League and the Missouri School Boards, we have found that there is another cooperative called the Buy Board National Purchasing Cooperative. So we are bringing this before you, asking for approval for the city to also join this cooperative. So it gives us a total of 4 different cooperatives, including the state contract, to find items that have already gone through a competitive bid process.
Okay. The chair would entertain an appropriate motion.
move that the city accept purchases without competitive bid if the item is off the by-board National Purchasing Cooperative.
I wouldn't put it that way.
Okay,
Second.
I have a problem with the way that motion was phrased.
that's all right, I was gonna clean it up on
Okay.
repeat. How about that?
Okay.
If Alderman Leahy doesn't object. So, it's been moved and seconded that the city join the by-board purchasing cooperative and purchase certain items through there according to the city's purchasing policy.
Absolutely.
In lieu of the 3 bids requirement.
In conformance with the purchasing policy, just that we're joining the board.
I'll agree to the
Will
motion.
that work?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for
Is there any
summarizing.
discussion? Seeing none, let's have all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's unanimous. We will join the by-board purchasing cooperative. Let's see, Mr. Excise Commissioner.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Library.
No report.
Municipal League, I think Mayor Kelly handled that one quite nicely. And Chief, Historical Society? All right. Item number 16 on the agenda, are there any announcements? Alderman Plufka.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to surprise my counterpart in Ward 1 that we have a Ward 1 meeting at 6:30 tomorrow night in this room.
What time?
6:30.
Okay, thank you.
The really surprising part is it's in your rec room.
Thank you.
Any further announcements? Alderman Leahy.
Ward 3 meeting for the month of May will be May 31st at 7 PM here in the council chambers. We also had a meeting last month in April, which we had the Missouri Sewer District come in and help educate a little bit more on the Russell Avenue and Mary Avenue sewer projects. And that was a good evening, and they were quite helpful.
Thank you. Further announcements? Okay, seeing none. New business. Any new business to come before the board? Seeing none. Hearing of any matter of public interest upon the request of any person present. Anyone wishing to address the board, come forward.
Susan Lee on Eulalie. I never did find out whatever happened with the planned development versus the urban development situation down at Manchester and Hanley Road. Was there any decision ever made on that?
Actually, we can address that in the automatic response if you like. I can do that. Any further comments? Any questions for the board? Okay, seeing none, automatic response. If it's all right with the board, I would take that one. So what happened was the applicant had made a request to have the property rezoned from PD to UD. That request was submitted apart from the site plan that had not yet gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission. At the last, I guess it was shortly before the meeting where it was supposed to be considered, the applicant, based on a conversation with City Attorney O'Keefe, determined that he did not want to separate the site plan and the rezoning, but rather to have them all come forward before the board in a single package. So that decision to rezone from PD to UD has not been in front of the board as yet, so there hasn't been any decision. Any further aldermanic response? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We have no closed meeting tonight, so the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.